morning, everyone. We're going to get the sound turned up here. You all are feisty this morning. There is a lot of energy out there. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good to see you all. Welcome to Westside UU Church. Thank you to Sandra Thomas for playing our gathering music. I am the Reverend Carol Bedeau. I am privileged to serve here as minister. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and we are thrilled to have you here this morning. If this is your first or second or maybe third time here, we're especially glad to have you with us. Westside is a community that lives in the aspiration of embodying Unitarian Universalist values. And I often like to say, you know, we need to cut ourselves some slack because we have some pretty high ideals as Unitarian Universalists. We live into them. They wouldn't be ideals if we were already doing all of them all the time. But here, what we strive to do as a community is help ourselves to understand those ideals better, those ideals of democracy and justice and living as stewards of the planet and helping our world to become a more just, equitable, loving place. We strive to support each other in learning how to do that and in helping each other become the best selves we can be. So you will, if you are in the room, you will be seeing some announcements scrolling up on our projector screen here. They are also in your order of service. They are also on our website. If you have not yet subscribed to our e-news that comes out each week, they are also there. If you are with us virtually, I want to welcome you specifically to this morning's service, whether you are attending in real time or whether you are watching this service at some point in the future. The members of our community that are with us virtually are just as much a part of this community as anyone else. So there's a lot going on. I thought it was really funny this morning. The energy in the building is really up this morning. This morning in our spiritual practices, we were actually having a little bit of a dance party. There was some serious music going on. And then in the room here this morning, there was just a lot of energy, a lot going on. For those of you who might not know this, our first of 2 annual congregational meetings is today after the service. So after the service this morning, we will have our first congregational meeting in which we will be handing out our proposed budget for the coming year. Our fiscal year starts in July. It's July 1st to June 30th. So every year in March, the board presents to the congregation a proposed budget for y'all to think about. And then in May, we meet to finalize and approve the budget for the coming of year. In between those times, in between the March meeting and the May meeting, we have our pledge campaign. So next Sunday is our Canvas kickoff party. And it's a party. It's not meant to be serious, it's meant to be fun. So the Canvas kickoff will be next week. The first Sunday of the month is our potluck Sunday, so it's a potluck. But for the Canvas, we want to make sure we have really good food. So there are sign-ups in the back of the church for those of you who are here in person. You can also, I'm guessing, you can email me or you can email the office and let us know if you want to bring something and you're not physically here to sign up, but you want to bring something. And more importantly, for our Canvas kickoff party, we have a game that we play that is we call it a connections game, but it's really a share your secrets game. So the game is, you fill out a form. You can do this online or you can do it in person at the back of the room. You fill out a form that says, here's something interesting you might not know about me. And then we play sort of a matching game at the party next week where you have to guess who was the person who met a famous person on a yacht in the Caribbean, or who was the person who rode a motorcycle across, I don't know, Paraguay or whatever, right? So it's a way to learn interesting things about each other, but we need people to tell us stuff that you've done or experienced. So if you are here in person, pick up one of those forms or fill out one of those forms before you leave, even if you think you're not that interesting, because I guarantee you, you are. And if you are with us virtually, you can do that online. Another announcement for today is that Elizabeth Corbett, our Programs and Membership Coordinator, will be at the back table. We'll have a little bit of a break between the service and when we start the meeting. For starting the meeting, we actually have to, prove that we have a quorum and that people are signed in and all that. It takes a little bit of time. So there's coffee hour. If you are not staying for the meeting, there will be coffee hour. And Elizabeth has cards. We send cards periodically to people who have been long-term members of the congregation, but who are not able to attend in person. So there will be cards, and Elizabeth will be back there during coffee hour time that you can sign some cards for some of the people that we want them to know we're thinking about them, some of the people that we love but haven't seen here in person in a while. Also, I hear the rumor that there will be an Easter egg hunt on Easter this year, which is awesome because we haven't had one of those in a while because of, things changed after COVID. So if you want to contribute, so on April 20th, that is the third Sunday in April, which is Easter, we will have our annual flower communion. So the Easter celebration we do is we all bring in flowers. You can just bring something you cut out of your yard. You can even bring a pair of scissors and cut something out of our yard. We all bring flowers, and we put flowers in communal vases, and then at the end of the service, everybody gets to take flowers that you didn't bring. It's a way of celebrating the gifts that we receive and bring to our community. And if you would like to donate some candy for the Easter egg hunt, you can drop those off. There's a container inside the door of the front door of the church. So if you want to help with that, you're welcome to do so. And there's more info in our newsletter and in our order of service about that. Whew. I feel like there's a lot going on. And it's all moving really fast right now. The energy of spring is picking up. So in a moment, I'm going to invite our Himalayan bowl to sound. And I would like to invite you as the bowl sounds. I love that, look at that, the pretty picture of the Easter egg hunt. As the bowl sounds, I'm going to invite you to just feel the energies of spring. Just become aware of the energies of spring. Today, we're going to be learning a little bit about our larger denomination and part of the denomination. But everywhere, people are feeling this resurgence of energy. We're coming out of a time of feeling a certain amount of darkness and hopelessness, and it's not like the storms are gone. But there is a feeling of possibility and energy and hope. So as the bowl sounds, I would like to invite you to just notice in yourself where that feeling of rebirth and spring and hope and possibility is happening. Elizabeth's going to light our chalice for us this morning. So today's service is actually a little bit of an unusual service because much of our service today was provided by the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, which we're going to learn more about in a minute. But some of the songs, the chalice lighting words, part of the sermon are actually provided by the UU Service Committee and are being used this week and next week all over the country as we all learn together about the work of the UU Service Committee. So as Elizabeth lights the chalice, I want to share these words from Reverend Laura Randall, who is part of the UU Service Committee. The flaming chalice has been a symbol of hope and defiance in our faith and beyond it since the Unitarian Service Committee began using the image in 1940 as a beacon to those seeking safety, dignity, and justice. As we light this chalice today, may its signal continue to call to all who seek a more just and loving world, and connect us all who are working to make it so. So we're going to hold off on lighting our community candles for a moment. But let us just notice that today we're going to learn where this symbol came from. Some of us know the story, but some of us do not know the story. And the story of this chalice is very important. We're going to sing a song together. I don't know how many brave choir members I've got who want to sing up front. You may or may not want to. We are all going to sing number 131. We're actually going to sing a song that's in your hymnal. So you can look at those gray hymnals. Choir members, are you brave enough to come stand up in front? Come on, you can do it. Be brave, be brave, be brave. Come on, Tremaine, come on up. 131, and I'll be playing it. We're going to sing all three verses. You do not have to stand up. You all can sit. It's okay. So learning about the UU Service Committee requires us, like as I said, like that song was chosen by the UU Service Committee. The reading was chosen by the Service Committee. The other song we're going to sing is by the Service Committee, but who the heck is the UU Service Committee? So Brad is going to show us a video that comes from the UU Service Committee that we had a couple options. I chose this one because I thought this one was a little more kid-friendly. This is a video about the origins of the chalice, which teach us about the UU Service Committee. So have you got that ready, Brad? All right, let's see it.
The flaming chalice is perhaps the most recognized symbol of Unitarian Universalism. At the beginning of every worship service, the flaming chalice is perhaps the most recognized symbol of Unitarian Universalism. At the beginning of every worship service, no matter where they are, Unitarian Universalists light a chalice. But it wasn't always so. Today, you will find the flaming chalice in many forms, shapes, and sizes. You can find it on buildings, on clothing, on jewelry, and in many other places in and outside of Unitarian Universalist congregations. Back in 1939, a Unitarian minister and his wife, Martha and Waitstill Sharp, traveled to Europe on behalf of American Unitarians to see how they could help people targeted by the Nazis. The Nazis were becoming bolder in their discrimination and violence against Jewish people, gay people, Roma people, and people with disabilities. Martha and Waitstill helped people in danger get food and clothing and reach safety. They worked secretively, forging documents, even wearing disguises. This was the beginning of the Unitarian Service Committee, now the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. Many people trying to escape the Nazis didn't have the papers they needed to travel to safer countries. So the Unitarian Service Committee decided to create their own documents and asked Austrian artist Hans Dusch, himself a refugee, to create a seal for the papers to make them look official. Hans created the flaming chalice, which was printed at the top of the documents issued by the Unitarian Service Committee to help people travel to safety. The flaming chalice, so important to Unitarian Universalists today, was founded on a brave and creative commitment to human rights. Today, the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee continues to support people targeted because of who they are or forced to flee their homes. And around the world, the flaming chalice continues to be a symbol of community, compassion, and justice.
Of like our home or our comfort together or being together. It's a symbol of a long history of courageous fights for justice. We're going to learn more about that today. And I want to just announce that Leslie, where's Leslie? Leslie's right there. Leslie is here. If any of the kids want to go back to the classrooms, Leslie will be happy to go play with you in the back while the grown-ups talk about this a lot more. So you're welcome. The kids are welcome to go back and play in the back. We are going to be learning about the work that the UU Service Committee is doing now with the same values that it had when it started as the Unitarian Service Committee many years ago. One of the things we do in addition to lighting a chalice is we light candles for our community of concern and also celebration. And I'm going to light both of those today for our existing threats to democracy, our existing challenges that match the challenges that the Waitstills, or that the Sharps, Martha and Waitstill Sharp, were facing in the 40s. The candle of concern that I will light is for all the ways and the places the world is either still like or becoming more like the world in which the original chalice was created. We will light that candle of concern for the future of democracy and justice in grief for all the threats to that which we are experiencing. But I'm also lighting a candle of celebration. Because Unitarian Universalism, along with many other traditions, many groups and people like us are like Martha and Waitstill Sharp. We're continuing to fight for justice, to protect democracy, to protect equity, to protect compassion in a struggling world. So we grieve that these challenges are in front of us, but we celebrate that we are here and we are strong and we are working together. Judy Winchester sent me a wonderful piece of information. In a few weeks, actually PBS, our local PBS stations, are going to be showing the movie that was made about Waitstill and Martha Sharp, about their lives. April 15th, am I getting that? I think it's April 15th. We will post it on our website and in our e-news and things like that. We will give you information about how to watch it. It's a wonderful movie. It's been out for a while, but it tells their story and the story of how they worked. I believe they were in Poland, was where they were based originally, and then they moved around some, where they left the United States, went into Europe, and stayed there and helped people get to safety. So it's a great movie. So we'll share information about that so that you can watch it. I'm really happy to hear that it's going to be broadcast more widely. So I'm gonna share some words that are a mixture of my words and also the words of Reverend Laura Randall. So some of you might remember a few weeks ago, we talked about the ways that congregations, individual congregations, can get connected to the larger Unitarian Universalist movement to make a bigger difference. Social justice work is really important work, and it is really hard to do by yourself. And it's even kind of hard to do with just like a small group of people. Every contribution matters, but we are more effective when we work together. So a few weeks ago, we talked about sort of some basic guidelines from our denomination about how to work most effectively seeking justice. And one of the things that I said at the time was that it's really clear that that's not a simple, quick, one answer kind of thing to say. It's going to take more than one service. So today is a piece of that, and then in a few weeks, actually, David Howell and I are going to lead a service together about how we do this work as a faith-based or church, not religious community, but yet a community based in faith and ethics. And so that'll be happening in early May. That was a triggering question for many of us. The denomination says, remember, you're not a political organization. What does it mean to be a church doing justice work? It has to have some kind of spiritual, or people might prefer the word philosophical, grounding. So we're going to talk about that in the beginning of May. But today, we're going to talk about a very specific organization that we all can get involved in. So every year in the spring, the UU Service Committee has what they call their Social Justice Sunday. Now, the actual official Social Justice Sunday is next week, but because we're having our Canvas campaign kickoff next week, we decided to do the service this week. So around this time of year, congregations all over actually the world will be doing this service, some version of this service. And it's about how we connect to this much greater history of justice making. So I'm going to share some of what Reverend Laura Randall wrote about this for today. She wrote a sermon called Defiance and Determination, which I think is a really important, just catch that. This isn't a, you should feel better, let me make you feel, this isn't a, let's all feel better. It's a defiance and determination. And, you know, after the sermon, I usually talk about justice and generosity opportunities. And one of the things I'm going to explain to you in that part of our service this morning is how you get involved with UUSC. So the mission of the UU Service Committee is this. The UUSC advances human rights and social justice around the world, partnering with those who confront unjust power structures and mobilizing to challenge oppressive policies. Their work is grounded in the belief that all people have inherent power and dignity. So I'm going to share part of her sermon with you. For 85 years, our Unitarian Universalist Service Committee has been working in partnership with those most directly impacted by injustice to imagine a different world, a beloved community where every person's rights are honored and protected. We joined with migrant workers in Texas in the 1940s as they fought against exploitation. We launched desegregation projects in Georgia and Florida in 1960. In 1978, UUSC sponsored the first congregational fact-finding mission to El Salvador as violence from there escalated. In the 1980s, we sent emergency funds to ease the Ethiopian famine long before the story reached mainstream U.S. news. We sent emergency medical equipment to Rwanda in the 1990s and launched the Drumbeat for Darfur campaign in the 2000s to help end genocide in Sudan. In 2010, we went to Haiti to assist with immediate relief after the earthquake and continue to have strong partnerships with Haitian organizations today as they work for long-term recovery and a true democracy for the Haitian people. Since its founding 85 years ago, the UUSC has been resisting fascism and advancing human rights. In the last 8.5 decades, UUSC has changed to meet the needs of the current moment, but these values and the leadership of our global partners has always been paramount. Now, as we face a new era of crisis, we are called to ground ourselves in common cause with our grassroots partners and in the legacy of our religious ancestors. And she goes on to say, in the wake of the 2024 presidential election, many of UUSC's international partners reached out to the UUSC expressing concern and offering solidarity and perspective. She says they know what it takes to engage effective resistance and to prioritize adaptability, resilience, and commitment to our deeply held values. So here's a reflection that was written by UUSC partners in Central America about having the strength to face challenges and continue the work for justice when they don't necessarily feel it's going to be an easy project. This is from UUSC partners in Central America. Crises present opportunities, and we must accept this, they said. In the face of adversity, we must seek solutions. Sacrifices will have to be made, of course, but this is not the first time we face difficult situations, and we are able to overcome them. We have a history of centuries-old resistance. We must rely on our knowledge, experience, and abilities to overcome challenges. We must be able to resist, adapt, and seek new ways of working, which requires that we develop creativity based on our strengths. Our strength is in our community. We must develop solidarity and siblinghood, not competition between us. We must support each other. We cannot cope if we are separated. We must create and strengthen alliances and work together. Let us recover the wisdom of the earth, the wisdom of women, the wisdom of indigenous peoples and our ancestors, the wisdom of science, the wisdom of different spiritualities. And Reverend Randall says, let us keep this shared wisdom before us as we look for solutions in global solidarity and mutual care. Let us keep alive the legacy of our religious ancestors before us. The history of Unitarian Universalism is filled with stories of people who were courageous in the face of injustice. They did this because of their values of love, inclusion, and hope. The founding of UUSC to resist fascism seems important, she says. So she goes on to tell stories. I'm not going to read the whole of her service, but she does go on to tell stories. You may have heard in the video about Hans Deutsch, who actually drew the original chalice. Hans Deutsch drew the chalice and was, I believe, ultimately recaptured and ultimately died. Many of the people who served the Unitarian Service Committee and who served in that work during the Second World War did not survive the war. They lived courageous, daring, audacious lives to live their values. In the face of genocide, Reverend Randall says, religious persecution, political assassination, and all the worst atrocities of the human imagination, it was an act of indescribable courage for these people to hope for a different world. As a hope that Brazilian theologian and poet Rubem Alves writes, is a hunch that the overwhelming brutality of facts that oppress and repress the world isn't the last word. So I'd like for us to just take a moment of reflection. We are people who have very different beliefs. Unitarian Universalists are not people who agree on everything. We are people who come into these rooms with different theologies, different life experiences, differing political views. What holds us together is a set of values. Values that, as our denomination has recently articulated, are centered on love. I saw a billboard actually this morning. It kind of blew my mind. Maybe it was yesterday. I drove from Michigan to Tennessee yesterday, and I saw a billboard. And the billboard said, not right, not left, just love. Good. So I want you to sit with that for a minute. What does that mean for you? At our anti-racism workshop a week ago, we had a sort of intense discussion about what it means to bring love to disagreement. What does it mean to bring love to disagreement? How does that work? When we are in disagreement, we are often in a fight or flight response. We are often angry. We are often defensive. And unfortunately, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in that kind of a fighty mood? And how does that affect the people you talk to when you're in a fighty mood? Generally, it puts them in a fighty mood. So, if we want to de-escalate the fighty moods, we have to figure out how to bring love to disagreement. This is a challenging thing for us. This is a very challenging thing for us. And sometimes it's going to take courage. Sometimes, Reverend Randall says, more than sometimes lately, things can feel hopeless. Like the world is moving farther and farther away from our values or from progress. I know some of you have said that to me, that some of you feel that way. Some of us are struggling with some of the things happening, not just in our country, but all around the world. I listened to NPR this morning and heard reports of how aid workers, humanitarian aid workers, are no longer able to do their work again in the Gaza Strip, in Gaza. And we know that things are happening all around the world. We could spend all day listing all the things. And most of us have moments where we scratch our heads and we think, what is wrong with our species? What's going on? What is happening? I would suggest to you that what is happening is an endless cycle of fight or flight. An endless, globe-wide cycle of fight or flight responses. And no matter how right I may be, if someone else is in a fight or flight response, they are not going to hear my logical explanation. Because when I'm in a fight or flight response, logic is not what's going to get me out of it. The only thing that's going to get me out of a fight or flight response is some version of love. So if they are in fight or flight and I am in fight or flight, we're just going to keep yelling at each other. The work of the UUSC is to bring love and courage into places where it's hard to bring love and courage. And we have opportunities to do that at the most basic level in our own homes and in our own hearts. So I'm going to pose, Reverend Randall probably wouldn't do this to you, but I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to pose a challenge for you. We're going to do a little experiment in bringing love to disagreement. You won't have to talk to anybody about it. This is purely internal. But I'd like to invite you to call to mind, and your emotions, something you really are upset about or really disagree with somebody about. It can be small and personal and in your own household. It could be a neighbor, could be a family member. I was just visiting family in Michigan, and my family is split right down the middle politically. My extended family. There are 4 kids, and we're split down the middle politically. So I had a good week of not right, not left, just love. So think of something that you're feeling upset and agitated about. Now, holding that in your mind and heart, simply bring the thought of love, whatever that means to you, compassion, hope, puppies or kittens, whatever it is. And imagine the person or persons or situation on the other side. And see if you can just bring a moment of compassion or love to everybody in the situation. One of the things we know that what will calm our nervous systems when we're feeling frightened and upset and worried is collective action. Community. So as you call those things to mind, notice that it's reassuring to have other people in the room who've got your back, right? Notice that that's also true of everybody we disagree with, right? So we tend to polarize. So how can we use community to create positive change? I want to tell you about an organization that the UUSC has created. This is an important organization. Now, just because we're coming from a place of love doesn't mean we don't do anything, right? We can be strong and resist oppression and resist things that are harmful to people we care about. We can do that from a place of love. Notice how much more strength, I think I've said this before, love is a stronger fuel than fear, right? So UUSC has created, rooted in love, rooted in the values of Unitarian Universalism, a new organization. In the face of the current crisis, UUSC has created a movement called the Resistance Network. And this network is designed to mobilize active ways of being love in the world, okay? So as we consider our own possibilities, thank you, Brad's got that up there. So actually, our partner for the quarter isn't UUSC, our partner for today is UUSC. Sorry about that. Our partner for the quarter, starting next week, is gonna be Knox Pride. But our partner for today is UUSC. So they have created this thing called the Resistance Network. And what the Resistance Network is, it's a very specific organization designed for our current moment. In an ongoing effort to become more connected to the larger denomination, you could become part of the Resistance Network, okay? I'm reading what's up there. You can connect in with UUSC if you want to connect through us. You can do that. You can also do that through their website. Here's what they say they do. The Resistance Network is a rapid mobilization hub that connects people of faith and conscience to urgent advocacy and direct action when democracy, civil liberties, and human rights are under attack. By joining the Resistance Network, you will receive urgent action alerts, key advocacy opportunities, frontline stories of resistance, and tools to help you organize in the community. So specifically, there's a few things that the UU Service Committee is specifically targeting with this Resistance Network. So they are specifically targeting strengthening protections for people in migration through legal advocacy, mutual aid, and sanctuary networks. Ensuring rights for trans and gender diverse people with access to healthcare, legal protection, and safe spaces. Expanding civil society's power to organize against authoritarian restrictions. Defending international human rights institutions from government interference and defunding. And advancing climate justice by resisting policies that fuel environmental harm and displacement. So what they're saying is like, look, we think some things there's a problem. We got to address it. So if you become connected with the Resistance Network, you will automatically get information and be connected to their actions and their suggestions for addressing those concerns immediately. So you can go to their webpage, you can go to uusc.org, And you can learn about specifically, if you sign up, you can go sign up. You can also contribute to their efforts. You can contribute to them financially. If you're interested, I'm sure there are also specific actions that they're asking people to start doing in congregations that we can start talking about. I find this really encouraging. What I find encouraging about it is that it's Unitarian Universalist, which tells me it's rooted in love. That's really important, because action rooted in love is more sustainable, gives us more courage, makes us more willing to take risks, and also is less likely to be rooted in having a fight with someone. And that is encouraging to me. Martha and Waite Still Sharp in the 1940s courageously left America to counter the Nazi regime. They were part of a small but committed network of individuals who chose to act together to counter oppression and injustice. Their courage and the commitment that they had to the values that we still hold, those things live on in UU congregations today, symbolized by the flaming chalice as we light each week as we open our services. The symbol reminds us of the fire of commitment, the light of love and hope that we as communities make a choice each week to keep alive in our communities and world. The flame of the chalice only happens if we light it. If we don't get together in this room, if we don't put fuel in the lamp, if we don't have a spark to light it, it's not lit. That's an important metaphor for us. And I want to say this about the work of our world right now. We will have different ideas about what needs to be done. Not everyone in this room thinks exactly the same about what actually needs to happen. We all have different life experiences. We all have different strategies. We're going to agree on some things. We're going to disagree on some things. The single biggest experiment in democracy and equity and compassion that I personally have ever been involved in is a Unitarian Universalist congregation. If anyone's ever been to a board meeting, you will know that disagreement or a choir practice, or any other kind of committee meeting, right? If you have been to a meeting where something had to be decided in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, you have seen that we are an experiment in true democracy, because we don't all agree on everything. So this place is meant to be a place where we have the opportunity to practice disagreement with love. Disagreement with love. So we begin by practicing it here. I want to invite you all to do something brave during coffee hour, if you feel so inclined. We go through coffee hour and we talk to each other with this baseline assumption that we know what everybody else thinks. Anybody know what I'm talking about? We go through coffee hour assuming that everybody agrees with us. That if I assume it's true or if I assume it's right, that everybody agrees with me. And I have seen more times than I can count in a UU congregation where somebody said something and another person was like, shocked, because it wasn't what they thought the other person believed. Or they were surprised to hear someone say something different than what they thought. So, not right, not left, not up, not down, not good, not bad, just love. I invite you during coffee hour today to ask someone a courageous question about what they think without trying to convince them they're right or wrong. Just be curious. It's good practice for all of us. It's good practice for all of us. And if you are interested in doing more work towards living our values, there are, of course, lots of ways you can do that. Brad had posted earlier in our announcements the list of things that we need to support local members of our community who are coming out of incarceration into sober living, people who become sober while in incarceration. And then as they come out, they are seeking support. There are lists of of those supplies that we have. You can contribute financially to this organization. You can bring things for our food pantry donations that we make. You can make a pledge during our Canvas campaign. You can join the UU Service Committee and their resistance network. You can simply stay educated and informed. You can sign a card for someone that we love that we haven't seen in a while. Every act is an act of power. So I want to leave you with this thought. What do you think of when I say the word resistance? Just think about that for a minute. What do you imagine resisting? My guess is that most of us imagine resisting an act by another person, a belief of another person, something out there. Today, just for today, maybe going into the week, consider the possibility that what we all need to resist is the urge to fight. Not make change, not resist the urge to make change, but to get in a fight. We can take action without having to get in a fight. We can take forceful, courageous, powerful action rooted in love while resisting being sucked into the energy that is conflict and polarity. Rather than fueling conflict and polarity, we can promote love and connection. Can you see how an action, you can do the same action from either place. You could do the same action from either place. But see if you can consider just resisting the urge to pick sides and just promote love. I hope that that's something that you can. And if you want to argue with me about that, the cool thing about Unitarian Universalism is you get to do that. You can come argue with me about that during coffee hour. I invite you to do that. I will gladly hear your disagreement with that during coffee hour. So before we close, because I know I've left you going, I don't know. I'm thinking about that. We're going to sing a song together, again, suggested by the UU Service Committee. It's number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. And this song is about resisting being sucked into despair, anger, hopelessness, rage. It's about holding the attitude of joy and celebration and connection and love and hope and promise and possibility in the face of whatever's happening. So I'm going to invite you to actually stand up for this one. We're going to sing number 108, and Sandra's going to play it for us. My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the rill, though far off, hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing when time as they hear the bells of freedom ringing. When friends rejoice, both far and near, how can I keep from singing to prison cell and dungeon vile? Our thoughts to them are winging when friends by shame are undefiled. How can I keep from singing? So it's cold and flu season. You do not need to hold hands. You can hold your own hands. I really mean that. But if you would like to hold hands with your neighbor, you are invited to do so. You are welcome to do so. I'll come over here. So we have this conditioning in our lives that Unitarian Universalism staunchly tries to help us unlearn. And the conditioning is that people have to be like us and agree with us for them to be safe. The whole point of Unitarian Universalism is that we can be different and we can still transform the world through love. So there's this famous quote from an old UU hero. And the quote is, "We need not think alike to love alike." I can love my brothers, my literal brothers, who do not agree with me politically. And we can still take care of my parents as they age. We can still take care of our home. We do not all have to agree. And this building, this room, is a place where we get to practice. So I want to encourage you all to practice. Let us be a place where we learn that we are safe through love, no matter what challenges face us. Go in peace, go in passion to live your values, and go with the spirit of love in your hearts. May it be so. Please do stay for the congregational meeting, even if you're new and are just curious, or if you plan to vote.